Long before European ships touched these shores, a vibrant tapestry of life unfolded across the Americas. From the fertile valleys of the Mississippi to the towering peaks of the Andes, civilizations rose, cultures flourished, each with their own unique stories etched into the fabric of time. In the Southwest, the ancestral Puebloans crafted intricate cliff dwellings, their pottery revealing a mastery of art and craft. Along the Mississippi River, the mound-building societies with their complex social structures and reverence for the dead left behind enigmatic monuments to their existence. These were not mere tribes, but sophisticated societies, managing vast trade networks and grappling with the mysteries of the cosmos. The arrival of Europeans, forever altering the course of history, brought with it a clash of worlds. The exchange of ideas, goods, and unfortunately diseases irrevocably changed the face of the continent. But the spirit of these ancient cultures, their resilience in the face of adversity, would echo through the ages. It would serve as a reminder that the story of America begins long before the arrival of Europeans. It is a story woven into the very land itself, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. The eastern woodlands, home to diverse tribes like the Iroquois Confederacy, witnessed the rise of skilled hunters and farmers. The Great Plains teemed with bison, sustaining nomadic tribes who followed the herds across vast distances. And in the Pacific Northwest, amidst towering forests, tribes like the Chinook developed sophisticated fishing techniques and intricate social structures. These were not isolated groups but interconnected societies bound by trade, diplomacy, and conflict. The arrival of Europeans, while marking a turning point, did not erase these stories. They became woven into the intricate tapestry of American history, a testament to the enduring legacy of the first Americans. The allure of the unknown, the promise of riches and new beginnings, drew European explorers across the vast Atlantic. Columbus's voyage in 1492, though a miscalculation in his search for a westward passage to the east, opened the floodgates. Soon, Spanish conquistadors, driven by gold and glory, carved their way through the Americas, leaving an indelible mark on the indigenous populations they encountered. But they were not alone. English settlers, seeking religious freedom and economic opportunity, established footholds along the Atlantic coast, forever altering the destiny of the continent. Jamestown, Plymouth, Massachusetts Bay, these fledgling settlements, often carved out of hardship and struggle, became the seeds of a new nation. The colonists, shaped by the ideals of the Enlightenment and the harsh realities of frontier life, began to develop their own unique identity. They yearned for self-governance, chafing under the often distant rule of European powers. The vast wilderness, with its promise and peril, fostered a spirit of independence, a belief in the power of individual determination that would ultimately lead to revolution. The French, drawn by the lucrative fur trade, established their own presence, forging alliances with Native American tribes and vying for control of this vast new world. Conflicts erupted, mirroring the power struggles playing out on the European stage. The clash of empires, the struggles for territory and dominance, would shape the destiny of the colonies and lay the groundwork for future conflicts. Amidst the turmoil, a distinctly American identity began to emerge. The seeds of self-governance, sown in town meetings and colonial assemblies, took root. The colonists, no longer content to be mere subjects of a distant crown, began to imagine a different future, one where they could chart their own course. The cry of no taxation without representation echoed through the colonies, a rallying cry against what many perceived as the tyranny of British rule. The Boston Tea Party, a defiant act of protest against unfair taxes, ignited a firestorm that would consume a continent. In the hallowed halls of Philadelphia, representatives from the 13 colonies gathered, their words echoing through the ages. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The American Revolution, a ragtag group of colonists rising up against the might of the British Empire, was a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit's yearning for freedom. From the battlefields of Lexington and Concord, where the shot heard round the world signaled the start of the conflict, to the final victory at Yorktown, the American colonists, led by visionary leaders like George Washington, fought with unwavering determination. Theirs was a fight not just for independence, but for the very soul of a nation. The hardships endured, the sacrifices made, forged a new nation in the fires of revolution. The Articles of Confederation, though imperfect, represented the first attempt at self-governance. The creation of the Constitution, a document that enshrined the principles of democracy, individual liberty, and the rule of law, laid the foundation for a government of the people, by the people, for the people. The American experiment, a bold and unprecedented undertaking, had begun. The echoes of revolution reverberated far beyond American shores, inspiring movements for liberty and self-determination around the globe. The ideals enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, the belief in the inherent rights of all people, became a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of ordinary citizens to shape their own destinies. The struggle for a more perfect union, however, was far from over. The young nation, still grappling with the legacy of slavery and the challenges of building a new society, faced a long and arduous journey ahead. The early years of the United States were marked by both promise and uncertainty. The fledgling republic, navigating the uncharted waters of self-governance, faced immense challenges. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803, a stroke of diplomatic genius by President Thomas Jefferson, doubled the size of the nation, opening up vast new territories for exploration and settlement. But westward expansion also brought with it conflict with Native American tribes, whose ancestral lands were encroached upon, leading to a tragic and often brutal chapter in American history. The War of 1812, a second war for independence against Great Britain, tested the young nation's resolve. Andrew Jackson's victory at the Battle of New Orleans, though fought after the signing of the peace treaty, solidified American independence and propelled Jackson to national prominence. The rise of Jacksonian democracy, with its emphasis on the common man and its expansion of suffrage, marked a significant shift in American political thought. Yet, beneath the surface of progress, tensions simmered. The issue of slavery, a festering wound on the soul of the nation, cast a long shadow over the young republic. Abolitionists, their voices growing louder with each passing year, condemned the institution as a moral abomination. Southern states, economically and culturally tied to slavery, defended it fiercely. The Missouri Compromise of 1820, a temporary truce in the battle over slavery's expansion, only delayed the inevitable. The stage was set for a conflict that would test the very fabric of the nation. As the nation expanded westward, fueled by manifest destiny, the belief in its God-given right to stretch from coast to coast, the question of slavery's expansion became increasingly contentious. The Mexican-American War, resulting in the annexation of vast territories in the Southwest, further inflamed tensions. The Compromise of 1850, another attempt to maintain the fragile balance of power, only served to postpone the inevitable confrontation. The forces of division were gathering strength, threatening to tear the nation apart. The year 1861 marked a turning point in American history, a year when brother fought brother in a brutal conflict that would determine the fate of the nation. The election of Abraham Lincoln, a staunch opponent of slavery's expansion, proved to be the catalyst. Southern states, fearing the loss of their way of life, seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. The Civil War, a conflict born of deep-seated ideological, economic, and cultural divisions, had begun. For 4 long years the nation was consumed by war. From the first shots fired at Fort Sumter to the surrender at Appomattox Courthouse, the battlefields of the Civil War witnessed unimaginable carnage. Gettysburg, Vicksburg, Antietam. These names became synonymous with the horrors of war, the human cost of a nation divided against itself. Through it all, Abraham Lincoln stood firm, his eloquence and unwavering belief in the Union inspiring a nation. The Emancipation Proclamation issued in 1863 marked a turning point in the war, transforming it from a conflict to preserve the Union into a fight for the freedom of enslaved people. Black soldiers, eager to fight for their own liberation, flocked to the Union cause, their courage and sacrifice proving instrumental in the Union victory. The Civil War, though a tragic chapter in American history, ultimately reaffirmed the principles of freedom and equality upon which the nation was founded. The assassination of Lincoln, just days after the Confederate surrender, cast a pall over the nation's victory. Reconstruction, the arduous process of rebuilding the South and integrating formerly enslaved people into society, proved to be a complex and often fraught undertaking. The legacy of slavery, however, would continue to cast a long shadow over American society, a reminder of the work that still needed to be done to achieve true equality for all citizens. The nation, though scarred by war, emerged from the conflict with a renewed sense of purpose, its commitment to freedom and unity strengthened by the sacrifices of a generation. The decades following the Civil War witnessed a period of unprecedented industrial growth and technological advancement. Fueled by abundant natural resources, a growing workforce, and a spirit of innovation, the United States underwent a profound transformation. Railroads, their steel ribbons connecting the nation from coast to coast, opened up new markets and facilitated the movement of people and goods. The rise of factories and mass production revolutionized manufacturing, forever altering the nature of work and urban life. The Gilded Age, as it came to be known, was a time of both immense wealth and stark inequality. Captains of industry like John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, and J.P. Morgan amassed vast fortunes, their empires built on oil, steel, and finance. But the rapid pace of industrialization also gave rise to labor unrest, as workers toiled long hours in often dangerous conditions for meager wages. The struggle for workers' rights, for fair wages, reasonable hours, and safe working conditions became a defining feature of the late 19th century. The Progressive Era, emerging in response to the excesses of the Gilded Age, sought to address social ills and promote reform. Muckrakers, journalists who exposed corruption and injustice, galvanized public opinion. Progressive reformers fought for child labor laws, workplace safety regulations, and political reforms aimed at empowering ordinary citizens. Women, too, raised their voices, demanding suffrage and greater social and economic opportunities. The westward expansion continued, fueled by the Homestead Act, which granted land to settlers willing to farm the Great Plains. The Transcontinental Railroad, completed in 1869, linked the East Coast to the West Coast, facilitating trade and communication. The Indian Wars, a tragic chapter in American history, marked the final resistance of Native American tribes to the relentless encroachment of white settlers. The closing of the frontier in 1890, a symbolic event, signaled the end of an era and the emergence of a modern industrialized nation. Section 7, Global Conflicts. America takes the world stage. The 20th century dawned with a mix of optimism and uncertainty. The United States, now a major industrial power, found itself increasingly drawn into global affairs. The Spanish-American War in 1898, sparked by the sinking of the USS Maine in Havana Harbor, marked the country's emergence as a world power. The acquisition of territories like Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, while expanding American influence, also ignited debates about imperialism and the country's role in the world. World War I, a conflict that engulfed Europe in 1914, tested American neutrality. The sinking of the Lusitania by a German U-boat and the Zimmermann telegram, a secret diplomatic cable intercepted by British intelligence, shifted public opinion in favor of intervention. In 1917, the United States entered the war, its industrial might and manpower proving decisive in the Allied victory. The Treaty of Versailles, however, failed to achieve a lasting peace, sowing the seeds for future conflict. The Roaring Twenties, a decade of economic prosperity and cultural change, witnessed the rise of jazz, flappers, and a sense of boundless optimism. But the good times were short-lived. The stock market crash of 1929 plunged the nation into the Great Depression, the worst economic crisis in its history. Millions lost their jobs, their homes, and their hope. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal programs, a series of government interventions aimed at providing relief, recovery, and reform, helped alleviate the suffering but could not fully restore prosperity. As the world grappled with economic depression and political extremism, a new threat emerged in Europe. The rise of Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, with its ideology of hatred and aggression, plunged the world into another global conflict. The United States, initially hesitant to get involved, entered World War II following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. The war, a global struggle against tyranny, tested the nation's resolve as never before. Section 8. The Iron Curtain Falls, a New World Order. The aftermath of World War II ushered in an era defined by rivalry between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. The Cold War, a clash of ideologies and geopolitical ambitions, cast a long shadow over the second half of the 20th century. The Truman Doctrine, the Marshall Plan, and the formation of NATO were all part of a strategy to contain the spread of communism. The Berlin Airlift, a testament to American resolve, provided a lifeline to West Berlin during a Soviet blockade. The Korean War, a proxy war fought on the Korean Peninsula, demonstrated the lengths to which both sides were willing to go to prevent the other's expansion. The Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, a tense standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union over the placement of Soviet missiles in Cuba, brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. President John F. Kennedy's skillful handling of the crisis averted disaster, but the threat of nuclear annihilation remained a constant throughout the Cold War. The space race, a competition for technological superiority, captured the world's imagination. The Soviet Union's launch of Sputnik, the first artificial satellite in 1957, shocked the United States and ignited a race to space. The American space program, with its iconic Apollo missions, culminated in Neil Armstrong's historic moonwalk in 1969, a testament to human ingenuity and the power of scientific exploration. The Vietnam War, a protracted and deeply divisive conflict, tested the limits of American power and resolve. The war's unpopularity at home, coupled with the growing anti-war movement, led to a decline in public support and ultimately contributed to the decision to withdraw from Vietnam in 1973. The Cold War continued, however, until the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, marking the end of an era. Section 9. Freedom's Call, the March Toward Equality. While the Cold War raged on the world stage, a different kind of struggle unfolded at home. The Civil Rights Movement, a decades-long fight for racial equality, challenged the nation to live up to its founding ideals. Inspired by the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the words of the Declaration of Independence, African Americans, led by visionary figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X, demanded an end to segregation and discrimination. The Montgomery bus boycott, sparked by Rosa Parks's refusal to give up her seat on a segregated bus, demonstrated the power of nonviolent resistance. The March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963, where King delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, galvanized the nation's conscience. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, landmark pieces of legislation, outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. The struggle for equality, however, was far from over. The assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968 sent shockwaves through the nation, a stark reminder of the persistence of racism and hatred. The Black Power movement, a more militant offshoot of the Civil Rights Movement, advocated for self-determination and racial pride. The women's rights movement, inspired by the successes of the civil rights movement, fought for equal pay, reproductive rights, and an end to gender discrimination. The Stonewall riots in 1969, a violent uprising against police harassment at a gay bar in New York City, marked the beginning of the modern LGBTQ+ rights movement. The fight for equality and inclusion, for a society that recognizes and respects the dignity of all its members, continues to this day. The journey toward a more perfect union, as envisioned by the nation's founders, is an ongoing process, one that requires constant vigilance and a commitment to social justice. Section 10. America. Today, a legacy of resilience. The United States entered the 21st century as the world's sole superpower, its economy the largest and most technologically advanced in the world. The end of the Cold War ushered in an era of globalization, characterized by increased interconnectedness and interdependence among nations. The rise of the internet and digital technologies transformed the way people communicate, work, and interact with the world. But the new millennium also brought with it new challenges. The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, shook the nation to its core, leading to the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and a renewed focus on national security. The Great Recession of 2008, the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, highlighted the vulnerabilities of a globalized economy. Climate change, a growing threat to the planet, emerged as a defining issue of our time. Despite these challenges, the United States remains a beacon of hope and opportunity for many. Its democratic ideals, its spirit of innovation, and its commitment to freedom continue to inspire people around the world. The journey of the United States, from its humble beginnings as a collection of colonies to its current status as a global superpower, is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the enduring power of ideas, and the constant pursuit of a more perfect union. The story of America is still being written. It is a story of triumphs and tragedies, of progress and setbacks, of unity and division. It is a story that belongs to all Americans regardless of their race, religion, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. As the nation navigates the complexities of the 21st century, it will continue to grapple with its past, embrace its diversity, and strive to create a more just and equitable society for all its citizens. The American experiment, a bold and ongoing endeavor, remains a beacon of hope for a world in need of leadership, compassion, and a commitment to the enduring principles of liberty and justice for all.